And there's life hack number 3. Remember, if you drink coffee, to make sure your mic is on mute before you take a sip of coffee. Okay, everyone, welcome back to the second half of this workshop. And now the first half of the workshop, you were mainly active participants. So we did some gamification in the beginning where you played the Blue Cat game, and then we did game-based learning where you joined the escape room. And now we're going to move slightly in a little bit of a boring part where I just quickly want to recap some of the theoretical content for you. And then we're going to move into the exciting part again, where you, once again, as active participants, are going to create your game. Thank you for your comments. And we will definitely, as we said, tap onto all of those things that you were saying. So we will come back to it again. All right, so for now, let's quickly distinguish between these two concepts. Those of you who had the opportunity to play the flashcard game before the session would recognize this this screen. Those of you who try to look at the hack during the game will also most probably recognize the screen. But I am leaving it open again for you for about a week if you want to play a little bit and see how it works. The flashcards. So if we then look at gamification. Gamification, remember the Blue Cat game we played in the beginning when we had the race? Now with gamification, we integrate the elements of a game, but it's not as such that the game is the focus. Oh, no, I'm putting it the wrong way about. Sorry. We're putting the elements of the game in. So it is a game that you're playing. There's leaderboards, there's a race, there's activities that you are doing, and the rewards are extrinsic. So the rewards are, yes, I'm the winner. Wow, I did the best. And in gamification, like in the Blue Cat game, we want to encourage engagement. So you couldn't just sit still and decide, oh, no, I'm not going to do anything, because then I could see you are still stuck in the beginning. So it encourages engagement, but it also reinforces positive behavior. So the moment you answered something right, you moved on and you got immediate feedback that, yes, this was right, so because I moved on. Or no, it wasn't the correct answer, and that's why I didn't move. So a big part of gamification is this extrinsic reward, but this energy that you're also creating and the immediate feedback. Then if we look at game-based learning, where you did the escape room, here we use the game to reach our learning outcomes or our objectives. So we immerse you as the player in the game. You are part of the game. You are the person. You are locked in the room. You have to find the clues. So you are taking on the role of someone in the room. So you are immersed in this game. And again, it's engagement. You want to practice some things. And the main thing about game-based learning, and we are going to touch on this concept quite a few times, that it is a safe environment to fail, to make mistakes, to learn, but there's also peer-to-peer teaching and peer-to-peer learning. Now, if you think back of the escape room that you played before tea time, when you made a mistake and you entered the wrong word on the Google form, it wasn't like your computer crashed, I hope not, the computer crashed and you failed the term or anything huge. It was like, this is the incorrect answer. Try again. So you went back. So, and depending on how you set this up, you can use each of those feedback moments as a teachable moment, whether they give you feedback why it's correct or why your answer was incorrect. But this is the main differences between gamification on the one hand and game-based learning on the other. And we use them on different situations for different purposes, and we'll touch on that again as well. So then if we then look at game-based learning here, the main thing of game-based learning is we need to achieve a learning outcome. We want to meet a learning outcome. It should not just be fun. So we have a purposeful intention when we create a game for game-based learning. This is the outcome. And again, if you look at constructive alignment, this is the outcome. And I'm not just going to create an activity that's entertaining, that's fun for the students, but it doesn't address the learning outcome. Then there's not alignment. And for us, especially now in COVID time, when we have such limited time with our students and we really need to give them value for time and value for data that they are using, it's really unfair to create something just for a nice to have if it doesn't address the learning outcome. So one of the things of game-based learning is looking at your constructive alignment the entire time as well. And then in game-based learning, we want to develop, we spoke about the hidden curriculum in the game as well, that problem solving, communication, critical thinking skills, those 21st century skills that we say we want to develop in our students, but very seldom can test in a written assignment or a written essay. In game-based learning, we develop those things and we can actually see how those skills develop in our students. So if we summarize, gamification, the blue kit game we played, enforces the positive behavior and it is much more fun. The element there is fun, it's icebreaker. And yes, we can use it for diagnostic assessment as well to see if everyone's on the same page, start our class and to give feedback there. But that shouldn't be that heavy. Where on the other hand, game-based learning is a much more longer process. Again, it focuses on the learning outcomes and there's active learning involved in it. And those of you who had the opportunity to watch Christopher's video will recall this. And if you haven't watched it, please watch it afterwards. That he said, learning is hard work. It's not hard work to sit passively in a class and listen to the lecturer and make your shopping notes here at the side or do something differently. Active learning is hard work. Participating, thinking, debating is actually hard work. So yes, there's a fun component in it, but the student is actively involved in their learning. And this is really what makes it so valuable as a teaching strategy for us as lecturers. Then if we create the either a game or we use game-based of gamification principles, we still need to incorporate the FAIR principles. And this is something that you saw in your game as well when you spoke about the FAIR principles, where there's feedback, they are active, we can individualize their learning. With other words, they can pace it. If I know the content, I may take 10 minutes. If I don't know the content, I may take 20 minutes to complete the game because there will be constant feedback and I will learn and I can play the game maybe if it's an individual game tonight or tomorrow while other people play it at a different stage. So we can individualize their learning and pace it for them. And then to make it relevant for them is very important. If it's not authentic, if they can't see the purpose and how it relates to the content, then the students don't see the value of your game. So make sure that it is relevant for the content you are teaching and that they can see the relevance. Now, I really love games, educational games. I've said in the beginning, I don't play Monopoly and Scrabble and all those things, but educational games I love because we immerse the person in someone else's shoes. They can put on a different hat. They can be someone else, and it gives us as lecturers a clean slate. We start with an open box. We can create the scenario. We can create the context and the content for the students. And what is nice for me about game-based learning is we create the narrative, the story. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with oh no, I can't remember his name. Oh, and I actually wrote it down, but I'll come back to his name. But he talks about the power of stories. And he said, if you tell a 23-year-old, it is important to have a medical aid because if something happens, you will lose your savings if you have to pay for a private hospital. That is totally different from telling them the scenario, this friend you had that was 23, that bought their new house, car, and they didn't have a medical aid, and then they got ill, and they lost everything, and they had to move back to their parents' house, and they went to a different type of hospital, and all the bad things that happened. The influence the story I have is much bigger than just you are 23, you should get a medical aid, it's important. So with games and game-based learning, this is what we use. We create the narrative. We create as you said in your comments, the anxiety, the expectation, the intriguing factors. And that is what we want to create when we create a game for our students, educational game. And it is a time-tested pedagogy. There is thousands and thousands of sources that support the use of game-based learning. And yes, there's sources also that says it's not that valuable. So we always get the two sides of the coin, but it is a time-tested pedagogy. And the nice thing about games is it gives the student voice and choice. And depending again on how you set it up, they can self-pace it, but you create the rigor that you import into this game. And again, as we said earlier, and we'll say again and again, it's a safe place for them to try and fail. It's not that they answered and now they only got 40% in the assessment and they failed the semester test or the exam. So this is creating the space where they can try and think and be adventurous and try new things. Now, for us as lecturers, it's nice because we can personalize the curriculum. So we can give it this input, this nice flavor, as long as it aligns to the learning outcomes. For the students, again, as I said, it gives them a safe place to fail, and we talk about graceful failure, but it also engages them, it keeps their attention. I think very few of you, I hope, when we played the escape room game or even the Blue Cat game in the beginning, gamification, but the escape room game, very few of you most probably sat there and checked your WhatsApps and quickly went on Facebook and maybe ordered something online. So it kept your attention. And that's what we want to do with the students. We want to keep their attention. And for them, there's a fairness principle because everyone in the class goes through the same challenges. And for us as lecturers, once again, it gives us standardization of assessment. And I'm putting assessment in inverted commas because we'll talk definitely about it later on. This should never be for summative assessment, but we'll come back to that again. Then for the students, again, it gives them feedback. It helps them to rectify their mistakes, to think, well, this was wrong. What can you be differently? And then also it reinforces positive learning. For you, this is a creative way to facilitate the learning. And one of the biggest values for me as a lecturer is that you create content that you can repurpose. So this game I created for a previous workshop, and last night I adapted it and I made changes. And yeah, then I broke the lock and it took me an hour to fix the lock again, but we won't talk about that. I still have the emotional scars about that. But it's content that you create that you can repurpose. So if I create a game for this session, it might take me a few days, a week, lots of coffee. But next year I can use it again. And then it is uploading it and using it. Make slight changes, use it again. So in the long run, it saves you time, depending on how you structure your game and obviously the platform that you use as well. So for us with the games, there's rules, there's objectives, but it links to the intrinsic motivation of our students. They want to achieve this. We want to tap on their value system so that they can actively engage and that they can complete the game. And the nice thing about games really doesn't care who you are. If you are pink, purple, green, orange, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about your race, your gender, about your abilities, about your interest or political views. As long as you are in the game and you are this avatar and you complete the game, that is what it's all about. So there are really different types of games, and please don't read the slides. It's a horrible slide. But we are going to tap on number 2, the type of adventurous game where we want the students to solve problems, to progress through certain levels, and then have a celebration or outcome at the end where they actually went through everything and have success. So from a pedagogical and educational point of view for us, if we look at the bigger picture from an institutional point of view, the value for us in using games in our learning, game-based learning, is that it allows the student to show understanding. And one of our first speakers this morning spoke about students complaining, said, but if we can Google the answer, you shouldn't have asked those questions. That's your fault, not ours. And yes, so we create things that they can't Google, that they can't just regurgitate, that they show understanding. And if you think of the game that we've played today, let me just click that. Sorry. If you think of our game, our first question was a scenario, which we say, if you use leaderboards and badges, what type of assessment is that? Or what type of principle are we using? So you couldn't Google that definition just like that. So you had to, and this is important for us when we create games for our students, the students had to know the definition. So I went from the assumption, and we need to relook our assumptions when we create games and what's the preparation. So my assumption was that the participants will know the definition, so they will be able to take that definition and transfer that knowledge into application so that they can look at the scenario, apply their knowledge and understanding, and get the answer. So again, how you structure your game. And I'll touch on a few things that we said, and some of these things are purposefully embedded in the game. So we'll talk about that as well. So, but from a pedagogical point of view, the students can show understanding, that they understand these concepts, that they know how to transfer the knowledge into a different setting and scenario. We also want them then to understand and develop the critical thinking skills, which we said is from a pedagogical point of view, and it reinforces further knowledge. So it helps them to understand and reinforce the learning, but it also develops other intelligences. And if you look at the 9 type of intelligences you get, we tap into more than just one of those type of intelligences. And it helps the student to make meaningful connections between concepts and content. And again, it depends on how you set it up. Now, so games to facilitate learning, to engage them, to have fun, but also to address the hidden curriculum. And this slide will look very familiar for you, coming from the game, that it addresses all 6 C's. And in your game, you had to look on communication. So the students and you as participants in the game, you had to talk about this. You had to debate, search, problem solve, soundboard against one another. Where will the answer be? What's the best way to find the answer? Why did the person who set up the game made it so difficult? Why was she such a horrible person? Whatever that. But you had to chat and talk and find the answer. And that is also what we want to develop in our students. Now, if you look, especially now in COVID, on the online environment where they don't sit in a class, they can't just talk to one another. How do we develop those skills apart from just breakaway groups where we sit around a virtual table and discuss these things? So we can incorporate all of those skills into developing games, educational games. So we can use it for a variety of reasons. Some of the groups spoke about diagnostic assessment. So yes, you can do it for an entry ticket or an exit ticket in your class. You can do it to prep them for a test. One of you said here in the chat about revision of concepts. Depending on the purpose, and we'll definitely talk about that purpose as well, you can set up the game for a variety of ways and a variety of outcomes that you want to achieve. Now, when you design your game, there are certain things that you need to think of, and we will look at the different steps. But in your game, again, we spoke about that, and you look there in the right side of the corner, that triangle there, that circle, should look familiar, the magic circle with the gypsy with her magic ball in your game. And there we talk about the 3 things that makes a game a game. So there must be a challenge. If the challenge wasn't to get the code to unlock the door, what's the use of the game then? So there must be a challenge. There must also be responses. Yeah, is what's right or wrong. We don't want a student to play a game and after 30 minutes say, you were wrong. Somewhere in the beginning you made a mistake. You failed. Goodbye. It's the end. So there must be responses, that they know what's happening in the game. And there must then be feedback to their responses. So there's a challenge, their response, there's responses from your side in the sense of feedback, and then it links to the next challenge. So we've got this nice spiral or this loop that we are using. Now, if you then look at the design principles as such, and one of the other concepts in your game was backward design, starting with the end in mind. So what, again, is the learning outcome that you want to achieve? What's the purpose of this game? How will this game address our learning outcome? It's nice to have a game, but we should never use a game just because it's nice, it's fun, it's a good activity, the students will think it's cute and I'm a good lecturer. If it doesn't link to your learning outcome, don't use it. Then you need to decide, in your game, do you want to scaffold the learning? In my game, the game that you played before tea time, there was no scaffolding. It was random facts that I wanted to refer to during the feedback session. But you can decide, will you, for instance, if it is a scenario with a patient, will there be the interview with a patient or looking for signs and symptoms, then looking for treatment, then looking for the results of the treatment? And will that scaffold on one another, or is it just there's a lot of clues and all of those are important? And that links to linear. Will your game be linear? And in my game, it wasn't needed to be linear, but I gave the Google form to make it linear for you, to guide you as participants in the game as well. And then you can decide, especially if you use something like H5P, do you want to make branching scenarios or again, just one way? And how do you incorporate the immediate feedback? Obviously, the students will know if the answer was right or wrong because they can continue or they can't, but will you make that a teachable moment? So if they answer correct, will a little light box pop up and say, wow, well done, that's a correct answer, because in such a situation, and then you make it a teachable moment. Or, oh, unfortunately, was not the correct answer. Think a little bit back about the anatomical structure of this. And I'm sorry, my examples are all health related because that's my background. But yeah, I'm sure you get the feeling of what I'm trying to say. And then obviously, how do you celebrate success? You don't want to come at the end and say, okay, that's the end. Goodbye. We want to, wow, high five, you made it. You got all the answers. You can go run or go grab coffee. You are a winner. So how do you celebrate the successes at the end? And this is really an important part of your game. It doesn't feel important, but you know how it felt to you when you played the game and you got the high five. Wow, you've done it, and just in the nick of time. One of the groups were done a little bit earlier, but some of the groups just made it just in time. You know how that feels to say, whoa, you made it. So build that into your games as well. Then you need to decide, will this be a single player or it's going to be a team effort? Like in the beginning when we did the gamification, the booklet, that was single, but we could also make the escape room that we had now a single person. But again, you need to look at what is the value of a person playing it alone, or will there be more value if you look at the transferable skills as well if they play it in a team context. And then if it's in teams, then will it link to collaborative or cooperative learning? And that is something that someone else said in one of the previous sessions as well, that students, when they have a group work, they all just bring this little bits that they had to do and everyone cut and pasted and there's the assignment. So they all collaborated. But in games, we actually want a cooperative learning where they all work on the same thing and they all debate it. They all look for the same result and then, wow, we solved this one. And then we move on to the next one. So what type of learning do you want in your game? And what is the level of competitiveness? So will it be like when the first guys exit, they finish the game, we said, okay, there was a winner, whoops, we close the games and the others are stuck in the room forever? Or will everyone that finishes say, yes, well done, you've escaped the room? And then you need to look at your content. Not all content is suitable for game-based learning, but even maths, most content can be converted to a type of a game. I'm not saying gamify your entire syllabus. That's also ridiculous because we know that we've got different type of learners with different learning preferences, and not everyone will like games. And I think today you also realize, yeah, this is not really me. No, but it's the same. We will sit in a conference and someone will do an hour speech and no, I just can't sit here. So again, you need to see where's the balance, what you put in, when you use what. Then what is at stake? Is this an icebreaker? So like in the beginning where we just play, or do you want to use it for revision? If you think of the flashcards maybe, or things that they've learned and now they have to use that to solve the riddles or the clues, or do you want to use it for assessment? And I really put this in red because I honestly want to warn you that games shouldn't be for high-stake assessment. We want them we want, first of all, we said it many times, we want to create a safe environment for them to fail and to learn. So if they exit the game and say, well done, you've completed the game, you've got 40%. That's not what we want. We want you've completed the game. You answered all the questions. You solved all the riddles. Well done. You've got 100%. So you need to decide, will you give the students, if it is for marks, and we know if it's not graded, it's not done very often. Now, so do you want to say everyone who completes the game before this time will get the extra 2 marks or 10% to your year mark, or however you structure it? But I will not use a game with a result and use that result as part of the assessment. You're taking the fun element out, and you are injecting constraints into the game. So if you quickly look at what we've said now, some points to ponder on, and I love this statement. Dr. Ina Lau always said, let's look at the points to ponder on. So I grabbed this from her. So points to ponder on here is, why do we want to use a game? What is our aim, our learning outcome, and how do we design according to that? And then, will it be used for marks, and if, how will we use the marks? Any questions, concerns up to here? Let me look at the, okay, it doesn't seem there's anything in the chats, so free to raise a hand or put on your mic if you want to ask something. Otherwise, I am just going to continue. There's a question, Elise. Please put on your mic.
I'm just thinking about data. Does these, let's say the one that we just played, does it require a lot of data from the student side?
And that's a very relevant and a good question. And data is always an issue for us. But I will, and I'll show you a little bit later, I have created this same game in 3 formats. So the one format was the format that you've played with the Google Forms to make sure that everyone participates, so everyone had a function in the group. The other format was just a Google form, and I'll show you that, where I incorporated some of the content of the interactive part onto the Google form, and that takes less data. And the other option was I created the exact same game on a PowerPoint, and then you save it as a PowerPoint show, and they can play that as well. So each one of those have different data usages, and it takes time to develop the same game on 3 different platforms. That is true. So you need to decide how data intensive do you think what is the value of the game compared to data intensiveness? I have not looked at the data intensiveness of this game, I must be honest, because it is a very short game, but that is maybe something that you can ask your IT people and your IDs as well, is if you look at this game, what is the data intensity of this game? But it is a relevant and a good question. And if students cannot do it online, do you want to give them a paper backup as well? It's not as exciting, it's not the same creating the energy and the buzz, but making sure that no student is left behind, we can create a paper backup as well. But we hope, we believe that they will be able to play the games. And what is the backup if they can't? So that is a very relevant question. Okay, so now we've looked at the design. Oh yeah, that is true. They need a PowerPoint. If it's a PowerPoint game, they still need data to download it. Marie, you are 100% correct. We hope that they will be able to come to places where there is Wi-Fi, that they can download it. But yes, everything that is digital that you put on ClickUp or on your LMS will require data from students if they want to download it. Unless, and Marie, here, maybe you can please help me. There's a way that they go through UP Connect or something, the UP students. Now, I know our entire audience isn't UP people, so but there's a way that the LMS can be set up that some of the data is free, or some of the content.
Yes, Irene, that is the case. I think many universities have that kind of deals, that when students access information on the LMS, then you only need actually that small little bit of data to connect to the LMS, and from there you can download for free. But it is still like, I think, a cheaper option to have it on a PowerPoint if data is a concern, because to download it might be a once-off uses of data. Well, if you play online, you have to, every time you play the game or practice it or revise on it, then you'll have to download it again, and every time it takes data. So that's also something to consider if data is an issue, that you have options that can play on an offline mode as well.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yeah. So look again at your specific context and your students, and if they have access or not access. If we move on then, okay. So now we've looked at our little bit of our design. Now, if we decide on our topic, when we said most of our content can be converted to games if we want to. And I really like the statement by Duncan, who said, take your most boring lecture, the thing that everyone hates to listen to and you hate to present for that matter, and make that exciting, make that a game. So what we did for one of the schools in Faculty of Health Sciences at UP is we looked at the assessment policies. Let me not generalize. Very few people like sitting and reading through the assessment policies and love interacting with those policies. But it is important content. We need to know what is the content of those policies. So we took that and we created an escape room again. So our scenario was that they are on this conference on water, that those things really exist, and they're in the boardroom, and then obviously the villain, me, locked the door and said if they can't solve these things, they can't get out of the boardroom and enjoy the rest of the cruise. So that was then the backdrop, the scenario, and then we gave them assessment-related scenarios and questions, and that scaffolded on one another. So it was one scenario that evolved, and they had to justify their answers from the policy. And as you did with the Google form, if they entered the incorrect words, they just couldn't progress. So that was the nice part of it. So we took really a boring topic and made it exciting. So for you, maybe that's one place to start, is look at what are the things that either the students really struggle with, or that is so boring for both of you that you want to really make it more exciting. Then when you plan it, you really need a committed mindset. And I love these things. Clarissa Sutherland did a brown bag lunch for us a few years ago. She said, you need to be committed to the students, to the theme, and to the game, because you have to pull this through. You have to really immerse yourself as the creator of the game in these three things. Otherwise, it is just a half-baked game. And then if it's a voluntary game, let the students RSVP. You want them to commit to the game. You want them to give some buy-in that they are going to play this game. And then obviously create the anticipation, create the buzz, and we'll look at that a little bit later as well. And one of the things that she said, and I found that really valuable as well, is collaborate with colleagues. It is very difficult to do this on your own. And we saw this today. Marie went into some of the breakaway groups, and I went into the others, and we actually collaborated before the workshop as well to see, does everything in the game work? Because some of the things are logical for me, and I assume, and for her as well. And we had to soundboard those things, to collaborate with someone and practice the game. I cannot tell you how many times I've finished this game and published it, and when I practiced it, something was missing or something didn't work and I had to redo. So practice your game. And I've sent it to my husband and my daughter and said, please just see if it is working as well. So we are nearly moving to the part where you have to start conceptualizing your own game now. But before we move into that, we need to think that there are two types of games as well. There's a lot of types, but if I can group it in these two types of games. We have games that students create, and this is also a very good idea. And we have games that the lecturer create. Now, the value if students create the games, you can actually see, do they understand the concepts? Because they have to create the challenges and the answers and the responses. And this takes them really to a higher level of Bloom's taxonomy of their cognitive thinking. Or if you create the game, depending on how you structure it, you can see, do they understand these concepts? Can they transfer the knowledge? Can they apply the knowledge that you want them to be able to do? This is from a previous conference. I need to sit closer to read her name now. But Shiva, she had a very good session. But she teaches kindergarten and pre-primary or primary school students, and she asked them to create games to show their learning. And these are the type of games that they create. So it is not expecting too much from our students to ask our students to create a game as well. So if you don't want your students to create a game, then obviously you can create a game yourself. And this is one of the games, for instance, that I've created. And you'll see I've built in a few props and things like that. But your game doesn't need to look like this. I keep on showing this one because my second screen is this side. Your game doesn't need to look like this. It can be a game on a Google form. We don't have to go for the extreme immediately. So, if we have to look where we are, we looked at our principles now, and we are now looking at how are we going to create our game. So, I hope at this stage you have a bit of a game in the back of your mind already that you would like to create. So, first of all, in your mind, what is the objective of this game? Why do you want them to play this game? What are your themes, your learning outcomes? You spoke a lot about constructive alignment today. So what is the learning outcomes you want to, I want to say assess, but want to achieve? What skills do you want to develop in your students? And then maybe look at where do you find inspiration? As I said earlier, I'm not a gamer. So I had to really listen to my daughter and my husband. They love games, and talking about escape rooms and doing these type of things, and then say, okay, but those are the type of things that people generally like, so let's see if we can use those principles. And again, every part of your game is important. Don't skip and neglect certain parts. And when you start your game, and this is also something that Christopher said in his video, the content is really the most important one. That's the boring stuff, I know, for us, but you need to decide on the content. What are your learning outcome? What's your assessment criteria? What is the things that you want to accomplish in this game? And then you start to storyboard your game. Now, there's a lot of apps and things that you can use of platforms to use to storyboard your game. We are just going to storyboard on paper and in our heads today. So if you think about storyboarding, you start with a topic. So, for instance, if I just grab a topic from out of the air, if we look at unethical behavior during assessment, now unethical behavior, and the purpose is I want to teach them not to plagiarize. Say, for instance, the students. So I will let them play a game, and they will do it in team because they need to talk about this issues about plagiarism and what is plagiarism and when is it not plagiarism, and how do we look at the 10 different types of plagiarism, for instance, in our game. How long will it be? Not how long will it be for you to develop, because as I said initially, it really does take long. And there's a kind of a rule of thumb. I've read it in a few articles, but it's not a scientifically proven method. But if you are the subject matter expert and you create and compile the game, and you go through all the steps. So you scan the QR code, you look for the answer, you type it in, then take that time and multiply it by at least 3. So I play the game, and I can play the game in less than 7 minutes. So let's say 7 minutes. So then I calculate 20 minutes should be enough for you, 20, 25 minutes to play the game. And you've seen some of you just made it. We don't want to make it impossible for the students to just give them 7 minutes. So, but we need to realize they are not the subject matter experts. So, rule of thumb, multiplied by 3. Then decide, will it be digital or on which platform do you want it in, and the cost. I developed it on Storyline 3, which is a really expensive software program, but you can develop it on Google Forms that is free, or on PowerPoint that's free for you as well. It just depends on the finance that you have available. Then when you start your story also, you look at the synopsis. So is it a zombie apocalypse? Is it a COVID crisis that they have to solve? Is it global warming or a nuclear bomb that they stop. What is your story? What is creating the energy there? What is the challenge? So do they need to escape the room? Do they need to save the professor? Do they need to prevent someone from going to jail? What's your challenge here? Who's going to be the hero, which is obviously, I assume, not you, the lecturer, but the student playing the game. They are solving the riddles and the crisis, and they get the lock for the door, so they are the hero. But will there be a helper? So will there be tips somewhere on the screen where they can get help, like scanning a QR code or something like that? And will there be a villain? I think some of you clicked on the parrot in the game, which said, useless information, or the red herring that was just a useless piece of information. So will you put in those type of things, or will you have, if they click on the villain here, that will take them to a wrong route? How will you structure that? And then again, the celebration at the end. Yay, wow, you won, you saved the day. And then also, very, very important, what will be the clues that you are going to create? So there need to be clues for them that if they get stuck, they can look at that and look at the fine print, look at the sequence, those type of clues that you think will guide them but not give the answer away. What will be the specific challenges that you want to create? The locks. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a difficult lock like the one that took me forever on the game to create. The one on Google Forms works just as well, and it is just you build in restrictions or a logic there. And then the platform, and we've discussed this earlier, so will you build it on a free platform, data, and where does our data expenses come in if we choose a different platform? And I've put this in because I thought I can't put in wine on the screen, but copious amounts of coffee, because it really takes long to create the game, especially in the beginning. And then you start your design process. So if I can summarize for us, if we are going to go into our own design mode now in the next few minutes, these are the things for you to focus on. And you can take a screenshot with it on your phone if you want to. If you look at our Padlet, if I can just find our Padlet again. That's it. Let me take that. Okay. On the Padlet there, you will find the steps as well. So you are welcome to enlarge it and you will find it. Let me just go back. Okay. So if we have to quickly look at what we're going to do when we design our game, who's our audience? So what do we want to teach our audience, our topic, our focus, our purpose? Who a single team, and what is the length? Then what's our backdrop? So our synopsis, challenges, characters, and the celebration there. And then your props. What will be the clues, the challenges, the locks, and the platform? And again, we are now going to design this as a digital game. But you can do this in real time, in a real venue as well. And Clarissa, the lady that I referred to earlier on from the Brown Bag Lunch, her escape room was in person. So she physically had a box with a lock on and props that she put around the room. And some of the others, what was her name? I can't think. There was a few escape rooms that we've created at this stage, some virtual, some in real life. So you can look at the platform that will work in your situation. It's easier to design digital and convert to contact than to try to create it in a contact situation and revert to digital. So try it that way around. It's just easier sometimes. And then after you've created your game, you obviously want to create this buzz. You remember when we had the slide from Clarissa as well that said, get the students excited, create the buzz, let them RSVP for your game if it's not compulsory, if it's a voluntary game. So for our escape room on the boat, Astrid created a Powtoon video to entice them, to tell them this is going to be the activity, and it's just nice to have something to just get them excited about it. And I tried this and I didn't use PowerTune. So for my one, I just went to Story That, I think, and I created a little invitation to say, this is going to be the activity. This is our story. This is what will happen. This is the clues and the tricks and things, and come play our game with us. And again, it takes a while to create this, especially if you are new. This is the first one I've created. I like playing with new apps. So it took me a while. And some of the characters I had to cut and paste to get them to sit on a chair. But so something like that is also easily done. And again, this is a free platform. On the free platform, you get 6 little blocks. So you can make your background and your characters and everything, and you can create that. Obviously, if you want to use it, they have a draft over it. So I just did the other thing, and I just used my snipping tool to snip it. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that out loud, but I'm using the free app anyway, and I created it there. So have a look at that as well. And Maria posted the link for you in the chat if you want to look at this platform or this application. Now we're coming to the part where you are going to create your game. But I will show you first on the Google form the different ways I did it. So don't stress now, don't leave now either. Please, we are going to do this again in group format. But what I want us to do is when Marie put you in groups, again, the same as in the first escape room, look at the names, go alphabetically. The first one is the leader, and he or she will do the screen sharing. The second person will do the timekeeper. The third person will enter the data on the Google Forms, and the third person will explain the game. Now, I quickly want to, I'll do that, Kat. I want to stop here for a while and say, when we give instructions to students, we get irritated with them. We said, but in the class, I told you it must be 5 pages. Or in the assessment, I said, which one of the following is not a characteristic? And I made the not bold and I underlined it, and the students still answered incorrectly because they obviously don't read the questions. Now, I've built this into our game as well to show you that when you focus on something different, you miss the fine print. You miss the instructions. I gave the instructions on the screen. I said it out loud. It was in the game as well and on the form. And some of you still missed it. So remember that when you design your game, that your instructions should be clear enough that the students know what to do. Because some of you really was lost, and I do understand it. As I said, I purposefully built some of these things in the game so that you can feel how it feels if you don't have the instructions with you now. So who's supposed to do what? And I forgot to write down these things. I didn't know that. Your students will feel exactly the same. So make sure that when you develop your game that you give the instructions for them clear and as a separate handout as well, that they can go back to the instructions. Okay.
Irene?
Yes.
There's a question that somebody asked that you can go back to the cartoon slide before we continue. Yes.
Okay.
Kat, is there a question that you want to ask about this?
Sorry, guys. I am working in the space of creating cartoons for one of the modules that I'm doing. So I just want to have a deeper look at what you have on this. It was too quick for me to look at, and then I'll converse a little bit later. So serendipitous that you've put it here. I really appreciate it.
No, that is fine. So if you look at my invitation, so I told them what is the story about. Their beloved professor, I took my name out when I said your beloved Professor Irene. So your beloved professor is kidnapped. You are going to go on a journey and there will be scary things and you have to go on this quest and you have to ask people. There will be clues now that will guide you. And in my game, the plagiarism game, I actually incorporated a song as well. So listen to the music, listen to the clues, and then ask people. So in my game, if they click on a person, a little text box will pop up. The game is not done yet. A little text box will pop up with some clues as well if they ask. But obviously, then there's a villain. now, so they have to sidestep the guards if they want to save their professor, and then the link to the game if they then want to play the game. And as I said, the game is not done yet, so I need to finish all these things as well. But this is then the invitation that I will use. That's fine. Okay. All right. So going back to our game that we are going to design now. So you've got your instructions. Take a screenshot of the instructions. Who will do what? Because everyone's role is important here. So please, again, as I said, don't leave. You have team members that, and then the people leave. You have team members that depends on you. So you are going to have 60 minutes, and I know 60 minutes sounds very long. Trust me, we've done this before. 60 minutes isn't that long. People complain, say, no, we couldn't finish. But you are only going to have 60 minutes, and we will circulate in the groups as well. But you are going to create your own game, and you are going to create it on Google Forms. So this is the instruction, not on PowerPoint, not on Storyline 3, on Google Forms. I want you to create a game, and I will give you a basic template that you can use if you want to. You don't have to. You can use your own Google form, and I will show you how to use Google Forms for those of you who are not familiar with it. So once again, the leader, and show me up. If your name starts with A, I guess you were the leader in the first session as well. So maybe negotiate with the people in your session if you want to roles. But the leader then will open and share their screen. Then you have 2 minutes. And I purposefully give you 2 minutes because the previous groups spent at least 15 minutes to decide on a topic, or some of the previous groups. So 2 minutes, decide. Is this going to be a treasure hunt, escape room? What is your synopsis here? And then you have another 2 minutes to decide on a topic. So the first 5 minutes, you'll do the logistics, get the screen sharing, know which roles, what's our synopsis, and what is our topic. And I want to suggest that you select a neutral topic, something like communication skills or COVID-19 or plagiarism, something that everyone in your group is familiar with. But if you're all from a certain department, that's also fine. But you need to decide on a topic, and then you're going to start creating your game. So on your Padlet, you don't have to open it now, but there are a link to some of the Google Forms. And now I quickly want to show you the Google Forms before you create. So let me just find my screen. So I want to show two screens for you. The one is the one that I've compiled, and the other one is the one that you as a participant or the participants then will see. And this will look a little bit familiar to you, but this is now the adapted one. So what I've done in the adapted one, if I say, okay, so I don't want them to play on Storyline, I just want to give them Google Forms to play the game. So I've included sections, different sections with different that links, that chronological link to one another. So we have our title, we have our welcome, and then we start with our instructions. And again, as I said, when I popped into the groups, the instructions verbally on the screen and on the form, remember it's all caps, remember to read the small print, remember to put it on an extra piece of paper, and still in the excitement of the moment, that message got lost. So make sure that there's a way that you convey the message to the students. Because if they get stuck on the first challenge, they're going, after 10 minutes or so, they're going to say, oh, no, really, we can't do this anymore, and they're going to leave. So make sure the instructions are there for them, and make the first challenge not too difficult. So make it an easy challenge for them to be able to do. Then you will see all of these. I then purposefully decided, do I want to give a clue? And what we answer, you will see all these questions are required, so mark them as required, and I put in the answer. So if you click on the answer and you put in your type of answer. So for this, it was a text answer. The word must be gamification, and if they answered incorrectly, there's a response to say, no, try again. So depending on what you want to achieve, so you can make this a teachable moment if you wanted to say, but maybe you forgot to look at the ingredients or whatever you want to use there. So only if they have this answer correctly can they then move to the next one. So there was that question. Continue to the next session. There was, and now you'll see it looks different from the one that you had. So I took now all the content, all the riddles from the previous one, from the storyline 3 that you played, and I put it in Google Forms. So this will be a standalone one now. The previous one that was combined, Google Forms and storyline 3. This one standalone. So this one they can do as a group, but they can also do it individually. But we still actually want them to discuss and debate these things. Again, there was a right and a wrong answer. That is the right answer. And we've added all the things that will happen if they answer incorrectly. And all of these questions are required questions. If they answer incorrectly, and I quickly want to take you to that screen before I show you. So if we, and now I hope I can remember all the answers. Let's say, so we've answered that one. We said that was the FAIR principles. We said communication was the correct answer. Oops. Sorry, I wanted to answer something incorrectly. So now I clicked on the incorrect one. Now I said, no. So if I answered correctly, I would not see this screen, or the student will not see the screen. So I said, no, that's incorrect. And again, I can give them more information there. And do you want to try again? Now we decided to say, no, we don't want to try again. Now I tell you, yeah, this is serious. Play nicely. Play the game, and you can give a nicer message at this as the one that I'm giving you. So I said, you need to complete the game, play nice. So, okay, I'm so sorry, let me buy you a coffee and try again. So just putting a little bit of humor, I hope, in here for you. Okay, and it takes me back to that question. So you who know the answer would have now by now finished the game already. And that's where we talked about the individualization and the personal pacing of the game. Now I have another opportunity. And yes, I can just click everyone and try. But let's say, okay, I say communication, and yes, and it takes me to the next answer. We have our feedback, and you will see now it will look more or less the same than what you had, but again, I've included the tips that was on the storyline in this game here. So how did I set it up? When they answer the correct one, it will automatically go to section 8. If they answered incorrectly, it would go to the next session, and the next session is where I set up these things. And again, if they said no, it would go to the that's not nice. If they said yes, it would immediately have taken them back to this screen. So this is how you build in your branching as well. And then the rest was just as we've said, as the rest of the game. If they answer correctly, they go to the next. If they answer incorrectly, they just get the pop-up that no, this is not. You have challenges there, so and I gave them there a little bit of feedback. So you've got challenges and responses. What is the third component? And incorporating that, and well done. Now you can unlock the door, and I gave them the challenge, again the hint, because we want them to finish, but we also don't want them to struggle too much. Again, it depends on your audience and how difficult you want to make it for them. So I've put in my image and my little video clip, and it is done. All right, so any questions up to here? And I know copyright and all those things are important, so try to use images that you self-created. So I've created my own Bitmoji, so I use my own images. And yes, yeah, so in a few places I borrowed a few gifts and things that I want to use. Elise, yes, you've got to answer. Please take the mic.
Yes, thanks. Where can we get free images? Because that's always a problem for me to get free images. I'm not very creative.
I sit with the same problem as you. I will give you a link. Remind me at the end. I will share a link with you. I've got an app, and on the app, I have a link to free images as well. So, if maybe, let me quickly. I know some of you have to leave early. I just want to, and I know you can see my PowerPoints now as well, but that's fine. If I can just get my mouse to the correct one. If you scan that image, oh, that was the wrong button. Sorry. Let's try that one again. If you scan that image on the screen and give a shout if it doesn't open, it should take you to an app, and that app will have a link to free images. I'm going to give you a few seconds, those of you who want to scan it, but I will make it available again later on.
Is it link 3EE?
Yes.
Is that the one? Thanks. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, now let us start. So in your groups, as I said, if you want to use my Google form, and it is on the Padlet, so let me just again show you where as well. I have not a very responsive mouse here at my computer. Okay, so if you look at this little lady here, you go scroll down, there is a pop-up of a form that you can use. So if I can open it. Okay, then it should open that document for you. So if you click on the link, it asks you, please, do you want to make a copy? And obviously, people from UP will have a Gmail address. If you don't have a Gmail address, please register for a free Gmail address. Otherwise, you can't use these Google platforms. But I created my form, and because I don't want people to mess with my form, and because many people are going to work on the same form, I make a forced copy. So you can't work on mine, and this is a good thing also when you have activities for your students. If you give them a template, but you don't want them to mess up your template or mess up one another's template, you tell them each group will make a copy of their own, and then they will use this form. So let me quickly see. Okay, it should open this one or another one. I'm actually was under the impression it would be another one. So let me just quickly go back and find the other one. No, okay. But please open the form that you have when you are in your groups. And then you will see on the form, I have created some questions for you. So you can use that as a basic layout and just adapt the questions. So, but maybe keep the structure a little bit, because it just will help you to see what is the logical format that you can use. Now, I see we have lost quite a lot of people in our in the participants. So, Marie, how will we make just 2 groups?
Irene, I think one group, because many people have left, And I have in the groups, the people left, if you take us away, there's actually 4 people that will play. So I think we must put all of them in one group, that they work in the group separately from the main room. And I wonder if they not just quickly test the Google form before they leave the main room, but we can just be sure that they have access to it.
Okay, that sounds like a good plan. So can I ask everyone to quickly either open the template that I provided for you, or open a empty Google form if you want to start from scratch? And I am quickly going to stop sharing, and I can just see if there's another for now. So please give us a shout.
Yeah, I'm also struggling to open the Google form, so that's why I want to hear back from the audience if they also struggle to open it.
Okay, access denied. Let me quickly see if I can fix that for us. Just give me a few minutes. So maybe everyone can quickly stand and stretch their legs. We've been sitting for another hour already. So quickly stretch your legs, and then let's see if we can. Marie, is the link that you posted, is that one opening or not?
No, that is the one that's not opening. So I've just posted it that Leona can try it and see if it's a UP thing, but it doesn't look that only UP people struggle, that the rest of the people all couldn't open it. That's the one that you gave me earlier today, which I think was the right one, eh? Yeah.
I hope so. Let me see. Why is it not working? And everything worked actually well up to here, relatively well. Okay, I'm going to give you a new link. Copy. Sorry, everyone. Let's try. So you have to sign in into your Google account when it asks you, but let's see if this one is, if it's not the same one. Please quickly in the chat see if you can open that one.
Both links are asked to request access.
Let me see if I can change that. Share. Let's see if we can try to change that. Quickly see if you close it and open it again, if it gives you access now. Let's keep our fingers crossed, otherwise it's opening. Yes.
Yes, it's opening. It does ask you to make a copy, but yes. Okay.
Yeah, you are sweating here in the seat here today. Okay, wonderful. So let me show you where we are then now. Screen 2, yes. All right, so you should be able, before we send you to your groups, to see something like that. And you will see here you can change. Here you can change your questions. Can I maybe see by a show of hands or happy sad faces on your status? Who have not worked with Google Forms before? So a happy face if you've done it, sad face if you've never worked with Google Forms before. Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know what I did
Okay.
now.
Do what? This fine. This fine.
You're back.
Okay, so everyone back. You are swish out and swish back. And Kat, I saw your hand was up, and I'll give you an opportunity now to ask a question. But what I wanted to show you on this form, and excuse me, I'm going to turn to this screen so that I can just see better. So you can change the name of your game. So you can make it the Zombie Apocalypse. You can decide whether you want to collect email addresses, if you want a person to put in their name or a team name or anything, and you can add any picture if you want to add a picture there. So this is the start of the form. Then you can put in your topic. What do you want to? What is your focus here? And I just popped in questions so that you can see here this challenge can be an MCQ. If you want to change it, you change it there at the drop down list and you make it a different type of question. So I've wanted to show you the type of questions you can have. So you can have multiple choice questions. You can say that one is the correct answer. So, or you can remove it. You can move it up and down. Here you will see I have a short answer. And after that, you can also then go to longer answers. So you can set up your game the way you want to set it up. Right. Any questions? Kat, your hand was up. You had a question?
I'm sorry, I was trying to find the smiley face and in my excitement.
Okay. If you go to your picture here at the bottom, and you, if I can just find my screen, if your picture at the bottom and you click on it, it will say my status and setting, and there you will have feedback, a happy or sad face. So can I quickly ask people to happy, sad, okay. Okay, in the chat I also see some happy faces, not happy faces, neutral face, that's also good. So some of you have worked with it and some of you have not, and that is nice because now, once again, we're going to go into a little bit of a peer, not a little bit, we're going to go into peer teaching. So as you create the form, those of you who are familiar with the form, maybe please take the lead and show the others as well how to do that. Now, we want to end our workshop at 4:45 so that we can still go for the lucky draw and everything. So I'm going to cut off a little bit of our time. But having said that, I want us then now to go into our groups and create this game. And please, if we can have you back by 25 past. So whoever's going to be the timekeeper, 25 past, then we can do feedback of the group, one or two groups, depending on how many groups you are going to be at the end, and sharing the game and getting feedback from the other people. So maybe, excuse Marie, maybe it would be a good idea if we can have, I say two groups, but I realize now there are only people. So
there's only 5 people, so I can make 2 groups of 3.
Let's do that.
Okay.
I think so. Otherwise, people tend to disappear in the background. So if you can make 2 groups, and then we'll come back at 25 past 4. 25 past 4. And as I said, I know it sounds long, but it honestly is not. So Thank you. If there's no other questions, Marie, please take us away. And I am going to stop the recording here.
I don't think that we going to record anything further. I think we have covered everything that needs to be covered. Am I right?
Unless you want to record the feedback as well.
Okay, let's see.
Not.
Yeah, we can. Julia, you must just remember, please, to start the recording if I forget. And then if you can join for me group 1, please. Yeah. Joyce have left.
I see she's as a
Sorry,
participant.
my internet is on and off. So I'm in and out.
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
Now I'm going to put you back. You were in group 2, ne?
I don't even know my group. I was struggling to join again.
Okay, let me just see if I can get you back. Okay, it looks like she's back. Let me just double check. Okay, so Julia's now with the other 2 ladies and the other 3 are together. Yeah. So 3-3.
Daar's hy. Ankie, waarna toe gooi ons vir jou?
Ek weet nie of Ankie hier is. Dit is net vir my ongelooflik hoe sensitief op 'n ongeluk op die verkeerde plek druk en net 'n groot gemors maak.
Dis verskriklik.
Ek het nou net ek was besig om die groepe te manipuleer dat hulle heeltyd so bly nie almal bly die mense lief. Dan skuif ek hulle die kant en dan lief hulle. Dan sê ek vir Julia van mes so dan lief hulle. En ergens langs die pad het ek per ongeluk die start gedruk. Dus ek nou dus ek voel ek nou baie unhappy, maar ek is sukkel weer om my groen deurtjie te sien, hoor.
Ek verstaan nie hoekom nie. Ek sê hy sê afgesny op jou skerm dalk dat jy nie jy is in full view, né?
Ja, nee, daar sien ek hom nou weer. Dit is asof hy so my goed bietjie sensitief is. So net toe maar ook was hy die hele tyd weg en toe op die einde toe kom hy weer terug.
My genade. Ja.
Okay, so hulle is nou gaan ons hulle so 2 minute net los of moet ons maar gaan check?
Ja. Nee, ek dink ons gee 'n paar minute dan kan ek actually gou ook 'n draai gaan hardloop en dan sal
ek soek 'n bietjie water. Ek weet nie waar om te kry nie, maar ek gaan eers my water soek. Ek's nou terug.
Okay, alright.
Weet jy wat, nee, en het dit nog wel redelik, ek kan dink, hier's maar vandag was 'n lang dag, ons moet hom eintlik vroeër stop die eerste dag. Wow, ja, dit is dat, ja. Kyk, ag, dis baie erg. Maar dit is alles voor.
Ja, nee, is regtig. Dit is 'n verskriklike lang dag. Nee, dis 'n baie lang dag. Nee, ek het nou net gedink, Jesus baie en nou gaan ek nie 'n keer ook terugry.
Miskien my bra. Moet ek op my klere uittrek en jou bra reg te maak. Toe anders moet ek nie, moet ek 'n ander bra. Nou moet ek hierdie bra se strappies mekaar kry. Dan moet ek die look gaan wakker maak. Ag, kom ons se bra net. Okay, ek is ook terug.
Sy was 'n vinnige hardloop daai. Hoorie, waar registreer ek vir die lucky draw? Terwyl ek jou nou alleen hier het om te vra.
Ja, so jy moet op die Koemersbuis gaan. So op die program,
Okay.
het jy die program oop.
Ja?
Okay, dan gaan jy daar by lunchtime, daar's die Koemersbuis. Check it out.
Okay. Kom ons kyk gou lunch. Okay, wag. Comfort break.
Ja, net na dit.
Kom ons, okay, ja.
Right, so dan kan jy in enige van daai venues ingaan en dan gaan jy ergens kry lucky draws en prizes en dan gaan 'n video speel.
Okay. Maar ek sukkel hoor. Ek het nogal gaan kyk na hierdie Koemersbuis. Dis oulik hoor. Dis
Dis
bly
net
oulik.
Salome wat met dit begin het. Ons het dit by haar gesien. En ja, nee, dis baie nice.
Dit is bly oulik hoor. So okay, so ek kan in die free social space gaan kyk waar join ek die lucky draw. Okay. Great stuff.
Het jy gekry?
Ek gaan nou kyk. Jy kan in
Ek gaan
enige van die
nou
spasies
doen.
ingaan.
Ja, ek kan enige. So ek gaan nou gou vinnig e-pos stuur en dan sal ek die groepies begin deurloop.
Okay, ek gaan sommer ook ek laat moet ek eers gaan kyk voor ek hierdie ding probeer doen. Okay. Maar dankie, ek sien. Hier is dit. Thank you very much. Bye.
Ek sê regtig weg nie. Ek sê dit vir 'n bietjie. Ek moet ek my kamera aansit beslag. Ek dink ek lyk so sweet. Ek wil nie weet hoe ek lyk nie. Soos 'n para.
Nee, julle sit net in heerlike somersklere en ek sê vir jou, ek is winters jersey en serp en ek kry baie koud hierdie kant.
Shame.
Maar
Ek weet dit. Nou ja, toe sien jou nou.
Okay. Ek sal groep 2 toe gaan. Okay, so ek het vir hulle die verkeerde vorm gestuur. Kan ek net asseblief in my hande hê?
Ja, want dis wat ek ook kom soek of ek die link gou te kan kry. Het hulle almal die verkeerde vorm?
Ja, ons rekord nog. Ja, maar ek het na elke groep toe gegaan en gesê, daai is die planning document wat eintlik die tweede werkswinkel se dokument is, but no harm done. Maar ek het vir hulle gevra om either 'n kopie van hom te maak en dan actually 'n game te begin ontwikkel.
Okay.
So hulle kan hom adapt of hulle kan 'n splinter nuwe een begin, maar ja, ai.
Okay, so wat ek was ook daar by groep 2, hulle is ja, bietjie verlore. So laat ek gou teruggaan na hulle toe.
Okay.
Maar ek is nou al so
So ek het-
onseker met hierdie in en uit generering.
Ja, dis reg. Maar ek was by al twee groepe en ek het vir al twee groepe gesê hulle moet 'n game ontwikkel. Hulle kan van scratch af begin of hulle kan die huidige vorm adapt soos hulle wil, maar hulle moet 'n game, fisies 'n game ontwikkel. So dit
Okay.
kyk of hulle alright is.
Okay. Ja, want groep 1 het vir my fyn gelyk. Daar het al begin prentjies insit en sulke goed.
Ja.
En okay, laat ek gou na 2 toe gaan en sê hulle moet maar op daai ene werk, wat ek bietjie by hulle
Okay.
gaan rondhaal.
Okay, thanks.
Add a file. Oh, almost sent you privileged info. Come quickly, sorry. Okay, so the score sign.
Welcome back, everyone. We are back in the main room. Sorry for being so mean and to just push you back into the room. Okay, let's quickly just check and see. Is everyone back? Hope there wasn't any casualties along the way. Okay, so apart from the initial problems, really, really sorry for sending you the incorrect link. But what I did now is on the Padlet, you will see I've now added. So this is the planning document that you originally now received, but I actually gave you now the pre-constructed, semi-constructed one as well that you can maybe look at. And this is what it should look like when you open it. So let me just quickly open that one. So what the original idea was that you will use this one with some questions and things like that to play with. So there was questions and everything. Okay, but any which way. Now that's done. It's too late now to cry over spilled milk. But let's ask, how was this experience? Maybe if someone wants to give feedback, let's quickly hear from any group. Any group who wants to put on their mic and maybe tell us. Kat, take the mic, please.
Sorry, guys. My opinion is that this is a very interesting learning process, but I think it's quite complicated and we need more practice. It was a lot easier to play the game than to create the game, in my opinion. But I enjoyed what we were doing. But I think eventually with some practice and things, we will get there. It's just that at this point in time, we kind of grappled with 2 or 3 questions and realized the complexity that's involved in the design part.
That is very, very true. And I think you've actually summed it up perfectly. Joyce, you want to add?
Yes, thank you very much, Irene. I think it's interesting, but I think before you start, you need to have a list of what's needed to build the game. You know, prepare the questions, get your things ready, get your links and so on, and then you can start building. You can't look for stuff while you are trying to build because then the whole flow will be weird. So we need to prepare before, get things in order, get the links ready, get the videos ready, and then start building. But it's interesting.
And thank you very much. And I think that brings us really to the point of the, if I can quote, what's their name? The Incredibles, which said the luck favors the prepared. No, Edna from Incredibles. It said luck favors the prepared. So this is really not something that you can sit and say, oh, I've got a class in an hour, 2 hours, half a day. Let me quickly create a game for them, and then you won't have a quality game. Again, if you can recap what we said, you have to decide what's the content, what's the learning outcome, how do you align it and work from there. Liana, please take the mic.
Yes, that form that if I can say the wrong one that you shared to us, that's the one where you do the conceptualizing. That's literally where you do the thinking about the game before you build the game. So
yes.
if you answer for yourself all those questions, then you will be ready to start building the game.
Thanks for that. That is really, and that is why and again, this is actually the form for the second workshop when we spend more time on creating a game. But if you don't plan it properly, then you really do sit with these things from, okay, where can I give image? What video can I put in what? And you don't have a logical flow of your process and of your game. So this is really, and again, as Christopher said in Christopher said in his video, this is the boring part, and it is. You have to really plan and see. Okay, this is what I want to achieve. What things can I add that will work to this? What's the content? What's the type of questions I want answered? What is the supporting evidence that I want to give to the students to, if they answer incorrectly, that they can go to? What is the things that I want to use as teachable moments? What is the type of things I want to add there? And once you've done that 90% of the work, then it's easy. Then it's easy to plot it in and say, okay, there's it. But if you don't storyboard it properly, it really wastes a lot of time. It frustrates the heck out of you. And I think all of you have realized this now. To just start to quickly go, build a game. It's very unsatisfying because it is me telling you quickly jump in the car, we need to go to another town. You didn't have time to put petrol in, you're not dressed appropriately, you didn't eat and have coffee or went to the toilet. So there was no planning, and it's no, we don't do it like that. And the same with when we create a game, we actually want a structure, we want to plan, this is how we're going to do that. So yes, all the things that you said, planning is crucial if we want to create a game. Is there any one of the two groups that want to show us their game? Maybe take us in just 2 or 3 minutes through their thought processes. And it's fine if you don't share, but we have time. So yes, Kat. Do you want to share?
We can share, guys, but our game didn't quite work. So it's not like a working game, but we can definitely tell you about our thinking processes.
Okay.
For the learning that we had done there. So I'm just going to share the screen so that you
Please
can
do.
see what we did. And thanks to my partners in crime, Joyce, and I think it was, what's her name? Sorry, Joyce and Liana, who also helped with this. I don't want to take any credit for the learning here alone. We all three of us kind of worked through this. So I'm just trying to share this application screen. And here's our form. So we called it something interesting like the blind leading the blind. And what we had wanted to do was to work with the topic of plagiarism or defeating plagiarism. That's what we call our game. And very simply, we used some questions. And so in this first question, what is not plagiarism? We had a whole list of things that Joyce found online that are regarded as plagiarism, and we added one wrong option called friend plagiarism. So if the person clicked here, so you can see that if it's direct or mosaic or self or accidental, any of the right answers, they'd go to the next section. But if they clicked on this one here, so that's why I'm saying that it didn't quite work out. We added another section as response or feedback to the wrong answer. And then we've got a little link here that the student can actually go and click on and read about it, and then figure out that friend plagiarism is the wrong idea. And then we said, okay, try question 1 again once you've read this thing. And then, of course, oh golly, what do we have? Yes or no? Click. Oh, did you read the thing? Yes. If you read the thing, yes, then you go back to defeating plagiarism, where you can actually then select the right friend plagiarism as the wrong answer. And if you don't read it, then it doesn't let you go anywhere. I think that's what we attempted to do here. Then the second question was, is plagiarism a crime? And the answer here is, of course, yes. But if the person chose no, then it would have to go to this next section here, which gives it some explanation about it being theft and illegal and all of that kind of stuff. and then we ask them to answer the question. So really, we just tried these 2 questions. It didn't quite work out. It needs a whole lot more work, guys, but that's what we tried.
Thank you very much. That's really a great start already. And obviously, when you have more time, you now have the idea. You've got this. You have the topic and the content that you will have. So you will have many more questions, and then from there on, you will start to create the story to create and instead of just asking multiple choice questions, and I know for this exercise this worked well because this is your planning document, but then obviously you will not ask, you will give a scenario and say you walk into the room and you find this one doing this, and then maybe what type of scenario, what will you do next and why would you do that. So you will eventually turn these questions into a scenario and into a game again. So thank you very much for sharing that. I think that is already a great start. Anyone else wants to say something to Kat and their group?
Yay! Thanks to our team member. Yay!
Okay, do the other group want to share? And it's, as I said, it's fine if you don't want to. That's perfect. Gonna give it 2 seconds. Yes, Julia.
Okay, I'll share from our group what we did. I'm just gonna share my screen right now. Give me a moment. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Not, it's coming, Dazai. Thank you.
Okay, so from our side, it was a let's get you home safely. Then we start from a child working from school to make sure you get there safely. You have to observe and identify traffic and road signs. That's the topic. Then next, okay, so we had what is your school name, and then you have to type your school name, and then you have to take a picture of your school and actually upload that. But I'm just going to use a random picture right now. So now they will see the sign. What does it mean? Stop street. You cannot cross here at all. This is a correct place to cross the road. So if they choose stop street and choose next, then we will take them to the incorrect response. So we hadn't gotten to customizing it yet, but they can go back. So now the issue is now that when they go back, they have to start everything from scratch. This is the correct place. So for all the incorrect answers, it will take them to that incorrect feedback, and then with everything else, it will take them to the next session. Then afterwards, only cross on the green circle. Oh, I'm going by so fast. Next. Then that's when they'll actually get there. Well done, you reached home safely. Then they'll have to upload a picture of them standing in front of their house. So we ran out of time, as you can see. But that's what we did from our side.
You did actually a lot of work in a very short time. So, Jani, I want to also say bravo. Well done. Well done. And I think what we realized, or I hope and believe we realized, is that it takes time, it takes planning, it helps to have someone to soundboard ideas against, but the devil is in the detail, and one needs to have a nice story, a nice planning, and develop it. And when we played our escape room game, and Marie asked you to give the word that describe your feeling, and you said it was exciting, exhilarating, anxious, and all those things. those are, and I'm looking now from a appreciative inquiry point of view, that are positive there. Those happy thoughts, those good feelings, those are the things you want to embed in your game as well. So you don't want to make it an assessment, just you really want to create, co-create, and recreate these feelings that you had, the positive ones, when you played the game. So I think this is going to be a wrap. As I said, we have to stop a little bit earlier because we do not want to take you away from the lucky draw. I shared with you my details previously, but if there's any burning questions that you want to ask, please feel free. There's my email address. As I said, I'm here in Austria at this stage, but you're still welcome to contact me. And then maybe from my side, I just want to say thank you very much for everyone who stayed. I know some of you had prior engagements and you had to leave. It's by choice that everyone left. But thank you for sticking till the end. Thank you for playing, for participating, for engaging, and for making this really a fun afternoon. So thank you very, very much, everyone. I think you can give yourself a hand and say you sat through 4 hours of workshop. So yeah, if there's follow-up workshops, please contact Marie if you want follow-up workshops or repeat workshops, but they will handle that request and everything. So Marie, can I give the mic back to you for the last 20 seconds?
Thank you, Irene. Yes, you can give the mic and the video and everything now back to me. I just want to say to the participants, you really persevere. We know it's a long process, but what I enjoy about this workshop is you had the chance to play and you feel the excitement, and then you had the chance to go from the other side and you feel a little bit of the frustration, but also then the moment you achieve something, the excitement return. And that is what I love about this workshop. Unfortunately, it takes time to go through this process, and I'm glad that you have experienced it, and I'm glad and I hope that you will implement some of this in some of the sections of your modules. Because there's many learning tools and ways of conveying information, and let student experience and practice and everything, and this is one of them. And sometimes we try to shy this one away because people think it's just fun. It's much more than just fun. Thank you very much, Irene. I appreciate your time and that you are prepared to talk to us here in South Africa while it's very cold around you. And I think that this might be a good opportunity to do this, to repeat something similar in the next photos in a year's time. So we will keep all of you posted if there are any plans of this. Thank you for participating, and then I'll see you at 5 o'clock at the closing ceremony. We will also have the lucky draw. Thanks, everybody. Yes, Liana.
I just want to know, Irene, if we can get your presentation.
You know, for coffee and chocolate, I do a lot of things. But yes, we will. The session has been recorded, but I can also share a PDF version with Marie, and they'll upload it on the website, I assume.
Okay.
Irene, do you want me to upload it on the website, or do you want them to email me to get that? Can I
maybe email? Yeah. Maybe contact Marie, and Marie, I'll send you an updated version since I shuffled some of the things, and then you can just share it with them for their personal use.
Okay, so I've put my email address. It's actually easy. It's marie.vanwyk and then @up.ac.za. So you are most welcome to then email me, and then I will forward the presentation to you. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye. Oh, Irene, the link to the free images.
Oh, okay. Let me quickly go back. Those of you who need to leave, you can leave, and I'll just quickly give you the link again.